Hello everyone, and I'm here talking with James Callcut, Digital Media and Lighting Controls Manager for RIDI Group, and we're talking about smart lighting, which we all think we know what it is, and I have a horrible suspicion that we don't know what it is, because if we did, it would have been more successful by now. So James, explain to us the RIDI approach to smart lighting.
So at RIDI, we've been doing lighting controls as a smart lighting for many years. I've been with the company for 20 years, and we started around about the year 2000 to actually get involved in projects doing lighting control. And essentially it was always about saving energy, reducing the amount of power that we're using for a given space, and ideally doing that without the end user noticing. So it's something that's got to be subtle enough that people are happy to work under it, but obviously effective enough that it will continue working. So that's where we started off, and it seems to us that maybe around the time that the LEDification process started to happen, there was this point where so much energy was being saved simply by the transition to LEDs. So one day you're using 40 or 50 lumens per watt, or you're producing 40 or 50 lumens per watt from your light fitting, and then all of a sudden the next day that's doubled, it's 100 lumens per watt, and you've halved your energy usage. So people are then saying, well, hang on a minute, why am I even bothering with lighting controls? I've saved 50% of my energy just by going to LEDs. And so we kind of lost our way, or the industry lost its way at that point.
All the smart lighting I've been talking about across the years follows on from what you've just said there. It's not been about energy efficiency. It's almost as if the energy efficiency is just a given. We've got that. The technology has delivered that. And therefore smart lighting has been about asset tracking. It's about tins of baked beans. It's about wheelchairs in hospitals and being able to track them. And why are we using lighting? Because lighting is everywhere. Therefore, if we can put sensors into light fittings, we've got smart lighting. But that's not smart lighting.
No, that's trying to tack someone else's product onto the infrastructure that you've got to have anyway. You've got to have lighting in the building, obviously, and along with that goes the communications that you're using for the lighting. So whether that be wireless or DALI or power over Ethernet or whatever, you've got those comms between the lighting and sensors. And so yes, we're going to tack some extra stuff onto that. And hopefully someone will find that useful. We'll generate tons of data from it, and we'll give that to someone, and they will then give you back something with that data. But who uses that is the question. Yes, I've always been interested in that someone, and we have seen this in projects out of number, where boxes have been ticked, schemes have been delivered, technology is being used, but it's always been forgotten that there is someone who has to use it at the end. And that lack of connection between the technology that gets installed and the ability of the people who are using it to be able to use it has always seemed to me to be one of the fundamental failures of using smart lighting. Now, I think you guys have got a different approach through the responsible light agenda, if you like, of taking smart lighting and taking it out to the marketplace to be able to say to the end user, oh, by the way, this is how you use it. So we think that lighting control should be a more fundamental offering in terms of energy saving and simplicity of use for the end user. And we've found quite often that lighting control systems are perceived to be complicated, they're perceived to be unreliable, when in fact generally they're not. They do what they're supposed to do, or they do what they're told to do. The problem comes when what they've been programmed to do by whoever's commissioned them doesn't tie up with what the customer requires, or even what the customer thinks is going to happen. So they'll say to you,
my lights aren't working. When I walk into a room, the lights don't come in. And we said, well, no, you've got to press the switch on the wall for the lights to come on. That's how they're set up. And there's nothing wrong with the way that's working. It's just the disconnect between how the system's programmed and the expectations of the client. And so we really believe that it's important to get right in at the beginning to discuss how the system works, why we do what we do, and what those expectations should be.
And what leverage do you have in that? You're a manufacturer, and you're a manufacturer of luminaires with a controls option, if you like, bolted onto that. So you come and speak to me as a designer, and we go, "Woof, this would be fantastic. I love this idea." So we think, "Oh, great, I've got the spec." But that's only the start of this journey, because smart lighting is something that should last for years and years and years, without which it doesn't make any sense. But the conversation you have with the specifier, whether that's a specifying designer or a specifying engineer, presumably has to include a gateway to get to the end user. Is that part of, does it get written on the quotation? Yeah. Conversation with client.
Yeah, we really need to know how the system's supposed to behave, and we do what we can to connect with the clients, the ultimate end user, to make it work. And we found that the relationships where we've been able to do that, where we've spoken to the clients, where we've been in there at the beginning, we've been there, we've delivered, we've commissioned, we've been on site and talked to them and made it do what it needs to do, are the relationships that have lasted the best. They're the ones where we get to go back in a few years' time when things have changed and they want things updated.
Why do I think this is sometimes a kind of a guerrilla activity? That if you just play it according to the games, you'll never get to see these people. But if you sit on their doorstep long enough, someone will come by and go, "Can I have a word with you about your lighting control?"
I think the commissioning engineer is probably the best undercover agent you have as a company. They're on site. They see the client more than a salesperson ever will, and that's where those relationships are made for the long term.
On that long term, this is a long-term enterprise. One of the things that we've been spooked by smart technology is failures in failures of the company to survive. Companies that have actually disappeared, leaving clients with lighting control systems that either can't be turned on or can't be turned off. Your approach, I believe, is that ultimately it's not a cloud-based system. It's a system that the client basically invests in, and they have full control of it from there on in. Have I got that story?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We believe that the lighting control system should be something that you own as the building user, the building owner. You buy it, it belongs to you. If you want to reprogram it, you don't need special tools to do that. You do need a bit of know-how, so you need a competent person to be able to do that for you, but it's not locked down. It's available to you. The software is there for you to use, and it's also an open protocol system. So if you want to use other people's light fittings, if you want to use other sensors, add things on in the future, there's no problem with that. It's not tied in. And yes, if we go bust in 10 years' time, then you have the ability to maintain your building for the 25, 30 years that it should be running for.
Okay, which actually, I mean, okay, that sounds a bit disastrous, and we're not wishing it on anyone, but that actually gives an awful lot of confidence, I think, not only to the client but also to the people who are specifying the system, because you have to remember that the specifiers are also people who are endorsing the system that's being put in front of the client. And so people like me as a designer wants the confidence that whatever happens, the client will not be abandoned by circumstance. Okay, speaking as a specifying designer, one of the things that I'm very conscious of is that in the UK at least, we are bedeviled by the Cat A installation. We don't know who's going to be using the office. We do not know what configuration of furniture we've got, but we have a requirement to provide a lighting solution, including smart controls. How does that work in the context of a new BSEN 12464 750 lux on task, when we are used to providing blanket light at 350 lux? It doesn't matter where the desk goes. Your smart lighting approach needs to help me to deliver a scheme that makes sense to my client. So how can I make use of you in that respect?
So the beauty of lighting controls is the flexibility. So we would install a lighting system that's fully addressable and reprogrammable. So for your Cat A installation, showing people around the floors, you would walk in and all the lights would switch on, and they would stand in there for 10 minutes and go, yeah, this is the space we want. And then at that point, it's a case of being able to then reprogram and tailor the areas so that they work in the way that you want them to, illuminating only the lights that are over the task areas when people are there, and then when those areas are vacant, allowing them to dim back down to a lower background level.
Okay. As part of the service then, post-installation, post-project completion, a user comes in and takes a 5-year, 10-year lease on the building. And somewhere we need to make sure that your card is on a desk somewhere that says, the lighting is set up to do this, speak to these people in order that you can make sure that it works for you. That's part of the smart lighting process?
It is. The very worst thing that can happen on a Cat B fit out is that people walk in and go, well, I don't like this, I'm going to rip this out, this isn't what I want. Take it all out and then replace it with exactly the same thing again. So yes, you're right, we have to be involved. We have to let people understand the capabilities of the system so that they know.
So we've talked about before about the sustainable attributes of responsible light and in particular circular economy and where RIDI is going with that, and the idea that a lighting installation eventually may no longer satisfy the needs of the user, but we can do something else with it. Now, what we've just talked about there is that we could have a brand new installation that doesn't satisfy the requirements of the user. So this is all tying into the circular economy principles, isn't it? The fact that we've got smart lighting in there, and smart lighting can do, in inverted commas, anything you like. Would that be a deliberate design input from you guys to say, if we just do what you're asking us to do today, we will probably be missing 50% of the potential of what this technology can deliver?
For a Cat A installation, there's not really an incentive to make the system perform to its fullest ability, because almost inevitably it will get changed in a few months' time. So all that engineering work of getting the light levels right and the setup correct is really wasted work, because most of the time the lights will be off until someone actually moves in. So it's only really once there's someone occupying the building that we can make sure that it works in exactly the right way.
Would you be able to help me as a project designer, so that we could demonstrate the simple stuff like daylight harvesting, that if we've engaged with a smart lighting solution, and we can then say to the letting agent, oh, by the way, to demonstrate this, you can see that some of the lighting will be on, some of the lighting will be off. The stuff that's not on, that'll be near the windows. That's a deliberate ploy. Is that something that we can do as part of the initial fit to demonstrate that smart lighting actually does work out of the box?
So yes, when we first install the system, the daylight harvesting will be enabled, and it will show you'll be able to see that the lights by the windows are switched off or dimmed down. Those further into the building will be at a brighter level. And if you want to hang around during the day, you'll see that as the sun moves around and hits different parts of the building floor, different areas of lighting will dim down in response.
Here's something just come to me. If it's a basic Cat A fit out, it's probably just going to be 4,000 Kelvin at a guess. But if at the same time we're talking about health and well-being, and we're talking about the benefits of the daytime to nighttime aspect, how much of the smart lighting installation, the hardware if you like, has to be replaced if you drop out a single color temperature installation and drop in a tunable white installation?
Well, I mean, we'd love to tell you that it costs an absolute fortune and, you know, you need to replace the whole thing. However, in fact, yeah, precisely no parts need to be replaced other than the light fitting. So you take out a normal fixed colour light fitting, replace it with a Dali Type 8 tunable fitting. It gets addressed and it's controllable. So with our system, there is a fairly simple out of the box tick the button and it will run a circadian rhythm based on your longitude and latitude and time of the year, which obviously it all works out for you, but it will then just run that ideal circadian rhythm.
One of the aspects of smart lighting is that it becomes possible to deliver more than an end user would ever expect, because we don't expect end users to be quite as au fait on lighting technology as we are. There are cases out there where tunable white, for example, has been installed but is not used quite deliberately, because it's one of those features where you do not know whether the incoming tenant wants to use the tunable white or not. Now, in terms of the smart lighting, in terms of the smart lighting protocols that you're using, is that a usable management tool to be able to say, if you want it, we've put it in there anyway, but you're not obliged to use it, because if you don't like the idea, and there are some people out there who do not like the idea, we can actually turn it off. In fact, we can turn it off at 4,000, 6,500 or 3,000, wherever you want it to go. But you're not obliged to do something just because we've given it to you. Now that might sound a little bit cockeyed, but in terms of the flexibility of the system, is that something that has, shall we say, developer approval?
So we would normally expect an installation with tunable white light fittings to run on a circadian rhythm. However, there is the flexibility that if you wanted to fix the output at, say, 5,000 Kelvin or 4,000 Kelvin, you could do that as well. There's no reason why it has to run on the biorhythm function.
So it might sound perverse to us, but it can be done for those who want it.
Like you say, almost anything can be.
Anything can be done. So those who just want warm light in the winter and cool light in the summer, they're good to go.
Absolutely.
I like that. I'll buy one. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
James, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.